For the final couple of videos, we're going to talk about a really fun topic in Max, sequencing. Now, I know what you're thinking. I can probably create whatever sequence I want using a collection or a combination of collection objects. You can, but there's also an easier graphical way to do this, so let's explore that. I'm going to create an object called Live.step. This is the Ableton Live Step Sequencer in Max. Super fun, super useful. Right now, it's not going to do anything though. We need to create a metro. And if I create that, let's give it a default argument of 200 milliseconds or so. Connect the toggle. And I'm going to give it an integer box just so I can change those values later. Now, just connecting this metro to the sequencer won't do anything yet. I'm going to use a message as an intermediary to tell it to target a specific sequence. In this case, it's going to be 0, which means target all sequences. Next. So it's going to target every sequence with the bang and then go on to the next part of the sequence. And there's so many messages for this, so what I recommend doing is opening Live.step Help. This will tell you how you have to actually connect things. So if you take a look at that transport, it's got all of this stuff for prepend time, but targeting the sequence works really well too. Let's take a look at how we can change things like which sequence we're going to display, the number of sequences, and the number of steps. So the big thing is, how many sequences do we want? Well, let's create a message called NSEQ, which is the number of sequences. $1, and then we're going to connect it to an integer. So with that, we can create any number of sequences from 1 to 16. And in fact, with working with sequencers, it's a good idea to edit those min and max values. Next, we want to be able to display a sequence and target it, meaning it allows us to edit it. So we're going to use display underscore SEQ $1, comma, target SEQ $1. And same thing, we're going to use a integer with a range of 1 to 16. We don't want to display everything, although we could, but doing that could be a little bit detrimental to our sanity if we're trying to edit literally everything at once. So that will allow us to edit and display a different sequence. So if we go to sequence 2, totally different. Very cool. Now, let's take a look at how we can edit the number of steps and the loop. You'll notice that there's a loop bar at the top on either end of the position. We can, if we're in a locked patch, edit that. You can see here it starts at bar 6 and goes to 16. Here it goes from 1 to 16, 1 to 11. Now I'm going to make this so that the number of steps and the loop are always going to be the same. We can change it afterwards, but I find this is the easiest way to do it. So n step for number of steps, $1. Now loop 1, $1. This means that what's going to happen is it's going to take an integer box and the number of steps, which can be anything from 1 to 64. So we'll change that minimum value to 1 and our maximum to 64. That we set that value, and then it's going to set that for the number of steps. It's going to start the loop at step 1 and go to our number of steps for the loop. So let's try that. So here we've got a 16-step sequence. Let's do 4. How about 37? all of the notes in these sequences are being randomly generated. Let's go back to 16. That's kind of the classic. Finally, I want to be able to change the mode of the sequence that we're editing, but there's just so much here to do. So if you take a look at the tabs in the help file, there's how to start the counter, using trigger to trigger the next step on all sequences, all of that, modifying sequences, filling and dumping data, counter-driven sequences, folding. Folding's really cool, by the way. Ah, look at that, they get big. It only shows what you're using. Yay! And editing the appearance. And there's tons and tons of options. What I'm interested in here, though, is the mode. And there's a lot of modes that you can use, but I never can remember all of them off the top of my head. So what I'm going to do is just copy all of this section here. Set, U menu, integer, and mode. Copy it. Paste it into my patch. And that is what I love about Max, is these helpful code examples. We're going to connect that up there. This will allow me to edit different things. I can edit pitch only. I can edit velocity only. I can edit extra, which in this case is set to distortion. I don't know why. Or I can edit every parameter simultaneously by clicking my mouse on it, by holding down. Can't even remember the other commands. There's so many of them. That's why I use these to select pitch and velocity. Velocity of 0, of course, will give you a rest. Let's go back to pitch. All right. You'll notice, though, that at this point, I've got a sequence going, and it's cool. In fact, I actually have sequence 1 and sequence 2. But they're not making any sound. That is kind of disappointing. So let's make it make some sound. In order to make sound with the sequence, I first have to take a look at what's coming out of it. So I'm just going to dump a message box here, and we will take a look at our data. Oof, there's a lot. So take a look. It's giving us 11, 60, 100, 120, 127, 127. So that 11 is the step number. I can count it up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It's C3. I happen to know that that's middle C, so yay. Velocity, let's take a look. Velocity looks like it's about 100. And those extra 127s are going to be from the extra menus, I would guess. I don't care about those. In fact, I don't even care about the step number, because I'm not going to do anything that fancy with it. So what I'm going to do is create zl.slice, which will slice off argument 1, so the first element of the list that it receives. Then I'm going to duplicate this message so that we can see the resulting list after I slice it off, and everything after that 11 should be the same if I connect it correctly to the cold inlet. And in fact, they are. Now, I don't care about those two 127s, so what I'm going to do is another zl.slice, but this time I'm going to do 3. I'm going to take the right outlet of ZL slice 1 and go to the inlet on the left of ZL slice 3. This should give me just the first 3 values that are coming here. So let's take a look and verify that. Nope, because I hooked it up to the wrong outlet. Let's do that. Okay, there we go. 60, 100, 120, all in a nice column. We are set. Now what I need to do is to break this up. I'm going to do that with unjoin. That's going to split the list into 3 messages. That unjoin is then going to go to Make Note, because I'm going to use this with MIDI. It's already MIDI formatted for the most part. It's just in a list that makes it kind of hard to use because there's no MIDI off message. So I connect straight across. This is going to be pitch to pitch, velocity to velocity, and duration to duration. Now, I'm using that with Make Note because Make Note will automatically create a note off pair for me after the duration has expired. I'm going to combine that back into a list with join. And then I'm going to get ready to format my MIDI. Now, here's the thing. I can take the pitch velocity pair and just drop it right there into MIDI format, but I might want to have channel information. And the reason why is that this can send out multiple sequences. So here's sequence 1, here's sequence 2. They're totally different. What if I want to be able to play both sequences at the same time? Well, let's take a look at the output of here. I don't see any channel data here. Next outlet is current loop point. Next is mouse over. No. And then dump out. Really no. What's this last one? Sequence index out. I can use that exactly as I would with a MIDI channel. So I'm going to take that and connect it to the MIDI channel in, the very, very, very last inlet of MIDI format. This gives me the ability then to pair up MIDI channel with pitch and velocity. So I can have a poly channel, polytimbral set of sequences going. So much fun. Now I'm going to use a new object to create the sound. You're probably thinking, Ben, I know I can already create any type of synth I want in Max. You know, you'd better be doing something really crazy with granulation. Well, I'm not. It's this point in the semester. Everyone is kind of tired. Everyone's fried. Everyone is stressed with finals and your final project. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to cheat a little bit. I'm going to create a new object called VST, which does exactly what you think it does. It allows you to host VST instruments from your collection into Max. Now, keep in mind that other people may not have the same VSTs, so for class, I've given you a list of free ones that you can use and that everyone has access to and had probably better have downloaded onto their computer when you're sharing your code. So make sure you know which one they're using. The arguments for VST are the number of inputs and outputs for audio to go out. This can do really pretty amazing things. I've done 16 channel audio out from East West and UVI's Falcon, but that's a little crazy. Let's not do that. Let's just stick to stereo. And then if you have the plugin file name, you can give it that, but that's not necessary. I'm going to show you how to do it instead, the easy way. Now, there is one important thing to talk about. MIDI format, what's coming out of the left outlet is a MIDI message. VST does not like that. It will not understand it. It will not deal with it. What you need is the right outlet, the MIDI event message. You connect the right outlet of MIDI format to the left inlet of VST. And that is so important. I'm going to color it red so it's nice and visible and no one messes this up. Next, my outlet from VST is going to go to a live.gain. Outlet 1 goes to inlet 1. Outlet 2 goes to inlet 2. And last but not least, our good old favorite friend, EZ DAC. Same thing, outlet 1 to inlet 1, outlet 2 to inlet 2. Let us hear that VST goodness. I'm not hearing it. And there's a very good reason why. Because I haven't loaded a VST into VST. If you look over here at the plugins, list on Macs, this will give you a list of all of the plugins. And as you can see, I've got a lot of VSTs. Some of them are going to be things like GRM tools, which are, for audio manipulation, but are not instruments. I want an instrument, so I'm going to use UVI Falcon. And the reason why I'm going to do that is because, one, it sounds really cool, and two, I can set it up so that it will work with multiple sequences and we'll get different sounds. So let's double click to open it now that I've dragged it onto the VST. I'm going to give it, yeah, sure, we'll use Nagoya Harp for one part. And that's coming in on A1. Rockin'. Then I've got Volcom, which is a vocal instrument. Let's try. No, that's going to be, I don't want slow attack. I want something really crazy. Let's try Electrovox. And that's on A2. Okay, kind of cool, but it's going to need a lot more grit, and I might crank up the volume considerably. There we go. What is that release time? Good Lord. All right. Okay, so now I have two very different instruments loaded up. I have two sequences. If you take a look at sequence 1 and sequence 2, both of which were just randomly created by Live.step, they're totally different. Let's hear this. I'm just going to replace it with some keys because that was way too much sustain and not enough release. Okay, so that's pretty cool. This is a really, really fun object. You're going to have to go through the documentation. There's just way, way, way too much to talk about, even in videos. So go through, take a look at editing, modifying sequences, filtering and dumping data, all that stuff. And if you really want to have fun, I cannot recommend Gregory Taylor's book, Step by Step, enough. It is a great look at this object in particular and all the things you can do with it.